case against the browser, metadata, fingerprinting, and control points. Please welcome Mario, Lukas, Marina, and Amir.
Check, check.
Slovak, check.
Check, check, check. Thank you, everybody, for coming over to our panel. This is the case against the browser. And because specifically we call it the case, I would like to start from the three stats, three numbers, to make it look like the case indeed. So first number is 30. There's a number of distinct fingerprinting techniques not just documented against the Chrome right now, and none of them defended against. 12.7%. That's the share on top of the 20,000 websites already using canvas fingerprints. Your GPU has manufacturing variations that produce a unique signature, and Chrome ships zero mitigations toward it. 6 years. That's how long Google actually promised to kill third-party cookies before quietly killing Privacy Sandbox in April 2025, and updating its positioning from fingerprinting is wrong to fingerprinting is accessible if disclosed. So this is the foundation where most of the people right now building decentralized applications, dApps. So the question of this panel, not if the browser is actually leaky, it's more like what is actually post-browser internet going to be looking like and how we can make this actually happen. So let's dive into it. So the first question is to all of you is, can you describe in one sentence what is the single most underappreciated leak of control point in the way that people can access decentralized applications today?
Most
Who wants to go first?
underappreciated?
Leak of control.
Yeah, I think it's like a really good topic, this one, because the browser is really shitty, and it's true. Because the thing is there's this thing, there's like the Unix philosophy, and Unix philosophy is really important because if people want to have control over the technology, it's not just like how the technology like exists. It's also like how you build the technology, how the code has to be. It has to be like modular, so that then people can like get involved in it, and it's like it can be customized to your needs and stuff like that. So that's like really important. And the browser, especially like the modern browser, is like antithetical to that. And there's like a degradation in like the software. So we need to like, the browser is just like a really shitty piece of technology. It's just really crappy. It wasn't meant to be used to build apps. Like in the okay, so like Firefox. Originally, Firefox used to be this like core called an XUL node, and it had this markup language called XUL, and basically you could, Firefox was built in, the application was built in this markup language, and then also that's how they built Thunderbird, the email client was in XUL, and so Firefox was like super customizable. You could like completely customize it how you wanted it to be, and it was like amazing. But then basically they did like a self-suicide because they adopted like Chrome add-on system, and so they just like nerfed their entire like ecosystem overnight, and it was like incredible. So obviously if we want to build like crypto applications, like P2P applications, it's like really stupid. We have to have these like websites that are like centrally hosted, and if you also you have to host like an RPC so you can like access the data. So it's like really crappy. Like, and we should actually have like not like this thing with a website with a MetaMask browser plugin, there's some like kind of app, and it just like runs on all of your devices, and it's like completely customizable, and it can like spawn P2P networks. It can do crypto, it can do ZK, and then you can build like a really cool application with like smart contracts and stuff like that.
It was a long sentence.
Yeah, I mean there's more, but I wanted to let you speak, so I just paused. Like,
It was just because Marina asked for a one-sentence answer, and I honestly got lost already, like what the question was. So,
Yeah, what is like the most underappreciated, like under-discussed bottleneck where people who build in dApps like Leaking Info to?
I would say, from my perspective as a cryptographer, from my background, is that the fact whether what's being served to me is actually the right thing, right? So we have techniques that were built for ages, like HTTPS, TLS, right? But still there are attacks which are able to make me sign something that's actually not the right thing, right? We had attacks recently that actually happened and were there in the wild. So that's one thing, and maybe the second one would be, especially when there is a UX in the application that kind of forces me to kind of blind sign something, right? So I'm always happy when I see when the application actually gives me the possibility, if I want to verify what I'm actually signing, right? When I have to do a transaction, or even these sign to login flows, which applications also have. So yeah, that's not a one sentence, but what I would see as a bottleneck or a problem in the UX of the dApps.
Good one, Mario.
yeah, and like more in general, just like proprietary JavaScript, or like what browser became today is that like you open a website and you run some proprietary code on your machine in a sandbox, mostly somewhat sandbox. Like that's another under-discussed thing, that on Linux we have actually weaker security guarantees for this, but like generally you open a website and you run this code, you don't know what it is. And we have some security mitigations, but still the principle of just running foreign proprietary code immediately without anybody asking you, without showing you the license or the source, it's happening all the time. So even if you want to like avoid proprietary software, you just open some website and you're still using it. So.
All right. Well, while you're talking, actually another question for you, Mario. Like from inside the Ethereum Foundation, you see this stack from a protocol perspective. Can the browser be reformed inside the Ethereum stool in better wallets, better RPCs, and browser light clients, or the browser itself is a sunk cost we need to walk away from?
Yeah, I mean, like, so speaking from like perspective of Ethereum, not necessarily EF that I'm representing here or anything, like I'm just like, my opinion, but yeah, the browser became sort of like a native part of the Ethereum workflow. Like we came with the new idea of web, but improved, because we can maybe provide more like proofs, literally, right? We can have like custody of the data on the blockchain and so on. So yeah, on one hand, like, the Ethereum came here maybe to like improve the internet experience, or the browser, the web experience, but what we end up doing is like actually being stuck in a bunch of these issues with the browser itself. And I don't know what's a good example. Like honestly, like people point out Brave browser because okay, it has like native Web3 integration with a wallet and with IPFS, but in the end, like a bunch of users are just like don't like it, or it's too much. It adds ADAX surface and so on. So. Then the extension system Amir already described, like having these add-ons, it's also like pretty, like yeah, not very customizable. So I don't have a ideal vision for the future. My current like more pragmatic vision is like be able to use Ethereum dApps locally, which means running it as a browser, just like clone the repo and run it as a web app locally, or just a native application as well, right? And today we have technologies that compile across all the platforms, and even with some optimizations, like you can have a single thing running everywhere. So that's what the browser is sort of proxying with a lot of complexity, but I think we could maybe manage it more natively and more securely, connecting to our like private keys and sensitive stuff as well, yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Going local first is a solution, is our hope as well. I mean, that is why we recently launched something called Basecamp. It's like a framework for developers that they can build local first dApps on our fresh new testnet using all three components. And yeah, we also believe that it actually can help, because at least you avoid this like fingerprinting through browsers. So, Lukas, next question is for you. The whole thesis of Hopper is that encryption is not enough and metadata is always the leak. So, even if every fingerprinting vector in the Chrome closes tomorrow, users still be nicked at the network layer. Walk us through what's leaking that nobody else can fix over here or in generally, and what metadata by default would actually look like on the practical manner.
Yeah, so basically when you want to talk about like privacy and anonymity and you're looking at some application running over Ethereum or something, you have to still think about the whole stack going all the way down to the network level, right? Because it's also running over the internet. It runs over certain protocols in the internet like TCP that runs by itself over IP, and that runs over some physical infrastructure somewhere, routers, you know, and every single of these, from these layers, they leak some sort of information about you, right? So one of them, the most obvious one and the one that's known most to everybody is IP address, for example, right? So because how the network is built, there's always some kind of IP address which links you to your ISP or something, makes you trackable, right? That's one thing. So each of these layers on the protocol exposes something about you, and it's kind of hard to go around it if you're still within the internet world where you are kind of forced to use these protocols, right? And the second thing would be that even if all of this was hidden, even if browsers were completely without fingerprinting, you would still be able, we still won't be able to hide the intent, right? So even like, let's say that I make a communication, I communicate somewhere, even if that destination does not know my IP, it still exposes timing, right? So like if I do something regularly every day, it makes me stand out from the crowd, right? Secondly, it would be like the intent. So like, let's say I go to some trading app, you know, and I do these, again, stand out from the crowd, right? So then we have to, at least to mitigate these, we have to have technologies like mixnet, or that's what Hopper is doing, like it's an incentivized mixnet. So it kind of helps you to hide the information which is there inherently from the internet protocols like IP address. It also helps you to hide timing, and also helps you to stay unlinked, right? So what's actually your intent or your action you do at the internet, and that could be anything, right? It could be a website, that could be a trading app or something, is unlinked from you as a source of that action, right? So this is kind of like, I would say mixnet are like one of the most important building blocks if people want to really stay anonymous within the existing internet infrastructure, because the protocols on which internet is actually built on kind of don't have this inherently in them, right? So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
Well, it is. So, just like talking more deep about the mixnet itself, I know that there is another mixnet on the market, like such as NIM. Are you guys considered to be having the same product, or would you say that Hopper have some like more?
I would say that these are two like different approaches. Like Hopper tries to build on Ethereum, right? So basically, since we are also an incentivized mixnet, the incentivization layer is built on Ethereum, right? So that maybe makes us different from other projects, which, for example, built on their own technology. They try to build their stack all by their own. So, and it also gives you the freedom to actually deploy on any L1 or EVM compatible chain. So, yeah, it's like I wouldn't say that one or the other approach is necessarily better. They're just different, and people might be attracted to one or the other one or the other.
All right.
So,
No,
yeah.
thanks for sharing this. As to clarify, I was very curious about it. Amir, so Darkware treats anonymity as a design space, not a feature. And you made a case that crypto is split in two sections, RegFi or underground. From where you sit, is the browser even a category that survives the split? And what does actually anonymous engineering mean concretely for what users see and touch?
Well, just quickly, NIM is actually very good. Because they actually have like all the different countries like China, Russia, Iran. They actually they like communicate with people and they like know how the censorship is working, and the technologies that they use to like have different ways to get around that. So, and then also on top of that, there's like a mixed net, so it gives you like the strongest anonymity guarantee to build like resilient P2P apps. Anyway, that's like my view on the NIM thing. I think NIM's like actually very good, and it's like advanced like a lot. Like, so I was actually quite impressed personally. So, but yeah, the other thing is about the kind of psychology and the narrative, because she was talking about the design space and so on, and basically that's going to inform that's basically going to help us inform how we're going to like design the applications, like what's the kind of narrative or the imaginary that we're going to create in people. I think like the aesthetics the privacy projects use is like completely wrong, because they use a lot of this like negative scare tactics. And the problem is when you scare people, people become like afraid and they become conservative and they don't want to change things. So we should actually be like giving imagery that's like expansive, and like, you know, the Web3 privacy event, I was like looking at like a lot of the slogans and the imagery, and there was like a lot of stuff like it goes, privacy is not a crime. And it's like, okay, but that's like a negative. Like, what is privacy? You know, we should be like affirmative. Privacy is freedom. And also crime, it sounds kind of cool. You know, it goes like, privacy is not a crime. You know, it's like, and then there was like another one, it was like a poster, and it had all these nice sounding words like Lunapunk, open source, you know, hacker, blah, blah, blah. But the image was like something completely negative, which is like a watchtower. It's like something I want to go away from. So it's like, why, it seems like contradictory, but actually it's like, why not like, what would I want to see? Like, you know, like people doing shit, hackers, mobilizing, like, I don't know, forests, technology, that kind of stuff, cool tech. Like, why not put that in the image? But, and yeah, and so then, you know, I think, yeah.
I like what you're saying, that like we should make privacy more open, more friendly, more like light. Also, like, I don't know why, but all the privacy companies, I mean, I know also were
Oh
black.
yeah, I was just going to say quickly, sorry,
Yeah,
I just
go
want to
ahead,
finish
go
this.
ahead.
But it's basically sci-fi, science fiction. It was actually created by the Soviet Union because they basically wanted to make movies about communism, but in space. And actually, science fiction is really important because it like configures people's attitudes and their imaginary towards technology. So we actually like, we actually should be like trying to manifest like sci-fi, like a kind of futurist, sci-fi futurism aesthetic. And, you know, I think, and when instead, in crypto as well, crypto just kind of, you know, it just copies what the proprietary software does. So it's like, oh, Google material design. And then everything's like, that's why all the apps like look completely bland. And instead we should be like, you know, like we were talking about Unix philosophy, modularity. It used to be really cool in the 90s because you had like things like Winamp, and you could completely customize like how it looked completely. You could make it like when we're making like you know, the T-shirts that we're selling, the merchandise and stickers. One of the things, because you know right now all the cars are grey. Why are the cars grey? It's because they're trying to make one car for as many people as possible. It just becomes like a spiral to the bottom. If you want to create something that's creative and aesthetic, it needs to be customizable because everybody's taste is like very different. We realized that we were making the stickers, and I'd ask people, we didn't want to do something that was bland and generic. We wanted to make stuff that was creative and interesting, and I would ask people which stickers they prefer. I found out everybody prefers different stickers, so it's better to just have lots of different stickers of different varieties. And so that's the same with how the technology looks, you know. If you want to create technology that's inspiring when people use it and stuff. So we forgot about all of that. We became brain damaged by the corporate slop, essentially.
It's like Linux distros, like you have so many different flavors, different DEs for people to make it the way they like it.
Yeah, check out Unix porn. That's amazing.
Unix porn is a great subreddit, yes.
Yeah, just go check that out. Like,
and also, like, it motivates me, you know, go back to the terminal.
Tell them what it is about as well.
Oh yeah, Unix porn. Just check it out. Yeah, r/Unix porn.
Explain it.
It's a subreddit where people share their Linux, Unix setups, like the way they customize it, like, because with desktop environment on Linux, you have different desktop, GNOME, Cosmic, XFCE, whatever, and you can change not just the colors or tint, but you can just modify it heavily into something that doesn't look like the original at all, and you can sync it with your colors, with your personal style, but also functionality. So if you want tiling, if you want different versions, so you can really make it customized to your workflow. And yeah, this is something that is more for heavy users, and I agree with what Amir said, like, basically, over the years as the technology spreads, it dumps down to the lowest common denominator for people, for the masses to be able to use it. And that's a big trade-off in crypto, like how much, you know, private, customizable, like more advanced we make it, but this creates like food guns, they say, I think, right? For people to...
It's crazy because a lot of artists, they don't know about this, and if we just tell them about it, they'll actually be really into it, because they can create their own desktop environments because it's completely customizable.
Oh yeah, it's
and
not
if
just...
they're not like, you don't have to be a programmer. You just like, it's just like a power tool like Photoshop. You learn how to use it. And the Unix porn, some of it's incredible. Like, people create like really interesting,
when I'm trying
creative, new desktop environment, look amazing. So you should just go have a look at it and check them out. They're like very creative and interesting. And so like this is like cool, you know, artists really like that. A lot of artists now, they're also doing live coding, which is like programming real-time music, algo music. And it's just people get into it.
Yeah,
Maybe
go ahead.
we can talk about browsers.
So yeah, that was actually, I wanted to get back to that, just a quick point, because what Amir said, we should go back to terminal, that's my point. No browser, let's go back to the terminal. Today, you know, maybe you saw you can order coffee through SSH, right? Yesterday I saw SSH swap. Do you know SSH swap? It's a, you know, SSH decentralized exchange where you can change Bitcoin to Monero just with your terminal instead of going to some website, right? So like maybe making also more native CLI tools that are easy to use, because like it's scary for a regular person to open the terminal, but once you get like, okay, it's just like these names of applications, and just put them together and it works. Like it can be pretty simple, and for us, it's yeah, it's a way how to avoid the browser maybe.
I'd like to make a small note, because I think that was a very important point regarding the Unix mindset, right? I think that's also very relevant to privacy, because that implies somewhat modularism, right? And modularism is something we should be striving for, because if some technology fails, it should be readily replaceable with something else, right? It also kind of makes you be able to build your own stack, and because you might have different privacy guarantees or requirements for yourself, depending on whoever your opponent is, right? So that in that situation, your stack might be looking completely different from someone else, because they have different threat models, so to say. So I think that's a very important point for privacy, this modularism.
Indeed. I mean, coming back to your point, like I like the examples that you did about the cars that they all in gray. Actually, I noticed that as well, but like if you want some special color, you have to pay extra. So we have to pay extra or make some extra effort in order to get more customizable experience or more customizable product. And that's really unfortunate, and it kills individuality. And the whole branding about privacy, that's my point that I was trying to do. Indeed, it's like all this like black, dark, like hacker sitting somewhere in the basement, which unfriendly for an average person. And if we make it more maybe light and talk more about the benefits like freedom and like a human right, and make it less black underground movement, perhaps it will be easier to...
My
put it
favorite
into
example of
mainstream.
this is Meredith, the director of Signal Foundation. She had this talk, I think she's writing a whole book about it actually. She had a talk at CCC 2 years ago where she defines privacy through love and talks about that privacy is there to protect us, our love. That like you're in places where your love, if you're gay or anything, you're right, could be prohibited. And you know, that's what we want to, we keep sacred, like the closest relationships we have and so on. So that's her focus. I'm not going to paraphrase it, but yeah, exactly. Like that's the way to sell it.
That's a perfect example indeed. But now we're talking that, okay, even like going like local first perhaps could be not a perfect solution, right? Like you're still unprotected. So do you think anonymity, like complete anonymity, is actually utopia? Is it achievable? And if it's achievable, what like at least like the most close way to do that? Perhaps you can recommend some tools.
Like the full 100% anonymity, like ideal privacy.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's important to actually realize that anonymity or privacy is just a subset of computer security. In computer security, there's no absolute, right? There's always relative to something. So let's say you're secure against your government. You're secure against your neighbor who's sharing your Wi-Fi with, or you're secure against some nation's state opponents, right? And so there's no absolute, right? So let's say your local stack or your privacy stack that you build is good against, as I said, your flatmate, right? When you share Wi-Fi, or it's good against your governmental agency, let's say from a mid-sized state. But it might not be enough for a bigger attacker, right? So an absolute really in security does not exist, and it also implies that it does not exist in anonymity, right? So you're always anonymous against something, and that's something you choose, and you say, okay, I want to be anonymous against this opponent, and then you try to focus your stack or build everything with this opponent in mind. But then we have this technology, right, encryption, which helps us to get leverage against opponents which are stronger than us, right? But eventually it boils down to this economy of resources, right? So that's the same for anonymity, and it's the same for security everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically having a threat model, right? Like, that's what I was going to say,
exactly.
because when you ask, like, about full anonymity, well, it doesn't exist. It depends on your threat model.
Exactly.
But the point here is that, like, for most people, even to get to a point of, like, being secure from, like, a nation-state level, it's not that hard, actually. It's pretty cheap today, because what we are building is free software, free in the sense that it's, you know, free to use any way you want. So you can use it to protect yourself easily. If I use Tor, I don't have full privacy. Like, sure, I can have some leaks, but now identifying those leaks and like having like the attacker who is able to find me suddenly rose exponentially. And all I did was using this simple tool. So if we have a simple tool that does this good of a job, like it's the asymmetry, right? Like the cost to find me suddenly rose from like, you know, one guy in 1 hour to like, you know, the whole investigation or something. And now it's not worth it for them to do it. So like, again, if I do something where I make like, you know, the whole Chinese government goes after me because I took down their whatever, well, you better have a good OPSEC, right?
Yeah.
But even for like regular people, they already can easily get to this level of like OPSEC privacy just by using these tools. Yeah.
Exactly. I think to be reasonably anonymous and secure against like opponent, which could be like a small state or even like a group of people which are against you somehow or opposing you, that's pretty much doable with the current technology today. But as you mentioned, being secure against like large state like China, that's really tough. And it's really like a cat and mouse game, right? You never get such a big leverage in the technology to be capable defeating such a resourceful opponent.
You can make it much harder for them, and that's for dissidents, right? Like if you are in the dissenting moment, like you better like you invest that energy to be as secure as possible. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Amir, go ahead.
No, I said
yeah, I finished.
I was like, no, let them talk.
I finished. It's all right.
No.
Thank you. That was my point. Yeah. Any thoughts?
Would you agree that it's nearly impossible?
I think we have to worship the moon gods because history goes in two phases. There's like a sensate phase and there's the ideational. So for example, the era like of Christianity, that was like an ideational era. And then modernity is like a sensate era, and they have like different value systems and so on. And the sensate era is like associated with the sun, but that era is coming to an end. And we're going into like an ideational era where spirituality and religion and those kind of ideas are going to become like, they're going to come back with more importance. And that's like the ideational era, and that's associated with the moon. And the thing is because the end of the era of the sun, there is like a long dawn and a night of darkness, and it's the moon that provides the light that shines a path so you can walk through that into the coming era. So that's why the moon is going to play a really important part, and we try to reflect that in our imagery, where we have like the forest, and it's the dark forest, but there's like moonlight, and the point of the forest is it's the internet overgrown with cryptography, because cryptography, it's like we're in a symbiosis with this forest. The forest, simultaneously, the more that we defend it, the more it provides us with cover, with protection, and that's like, it's something powerful, and we kind of like manifest that. And also, the sci-fi futurism, so we like, alien life, nature, etc., all that kind of stuff.
That's very deep, very metaphorical.
Fucking moon gods, man. No, because yeah.
I really like
Sure.
Thoth from Egypt as well. But Isis is amazing as well.
Well, now that we talk about the futurism, how do you see actually the future? Like you mentioned 2030, do you think browsers still will be there, and the way apps are launching is going to be the same?
Yeah, I think the era of the moon is coming. The Artemis, right? Yeah. Actually, I had one thing I wanted to say, because you asked about like practical side of things, and that's something that's like improving somewhere, deteriorating elsewhere as well. So I'm very curious how it looks like in the future, because like right now we have some decent set of tools, but we are very excited about new ones coming, but also like sometimes I'm worried that we take what we have for granted, and whether the tools that we use today, like Tor we mentioned or something, stays around. Some practical tools I wanted to mention, use encrypted communication. There is Signal and Session and Simplex and Briar and BitChat, and I have 15 more, but the tools of trade, Unix, use Torified operating system like Unix, or even better, you can use cubes with a disposable Unix machine, and even cooler, you can encrypt your machine using something like Shufflecake, for example, where you can have hidden operating systems. So again, multiple levels, depends how deep you go. And my general recommendation is if you want to have a private crypto setup, like you want to initialize your wallet and you want to use it like in a sort of safe or private environment, just get a Unix virtual machine, which is sort of like a Linux distro, but it's intended to run virtually in two machines that are compartmentalized and virtualized, so everything goes through Tor. So then you minimize the leaks at least, and you have everything in a single environment that you shut down when you don't want to use it. So like I would say I just wanted to add some practical tools, because you asked about something more pragmatic before, so kind of felt in depth about that. Yeah.
Thanks. I believe it's like really useful
Use
for the crowd
mixnets
and
as well.
everybody as good tips.
Yeah, I think in general, like in a couple of years from now, what would be certainly great for these like privacy-first applications, like since you mentioned cubes even, they should be made more user-friendly, right? Because it's of course difficult to balance these two, because at one side you have security, which kind of goes against the usability sometimes, right? So balance good UX and good security is a tough one. So I always like to say that, I don't know, if in 5 years I still have to like when I sign a transaction, for example, when I still have to manually match the payload and hashes from my hardware wallet and the browser, I think that we failed miserably in that regard, if it's still the case in 5 years, let's say. Right, so better UX, because better UX always attracts more people. And as I said at the beginning, for anonymity and privacy, you always need the crowd, right? So the more people who use these privacy-first solution, the bigger crowd you get. So you have this feedback loop, so that the more usable it is, the more privacy you get, right? Not just because it's more usable for you, but because there's a bigger crowd of people using it, giving you better anonymity set.
All right. Do you want to add something on this point?
No, but
Any practical tools or suggestions for people to use? Perhaps something that you use on your own daily life?
Tell us about your desktop environment, your Unix born. What is the name of the suckless one?
I mean, I was just thinking about other stuff, but okay, like, I mean, if you want to know a really cool rabbit hole, you should check out, like, anyway, sorry, no. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, so you asked me about tools, actually. Yeah, sorry.
Suckless?
Mixnet?
No, I was going to say, like, definitely, I think it's really good for people to install Linux. If you install, like, if you do, like, the Arch Linux install guide, that's really good if you've just done it once in your life, because it will teach you about how operating systems work, and then you will, like, understand computers. That's a pretty cool tool. But there's, like,
Nice.
there's a lot of tools. It's like a whole rabbit hole. You know, Tor browser. Tor browser is cool because there's something called Nano GPT, which is like a front end for all the AI models. And you can create an anonymous account using Onion Mail, and then you can fund it with Monero. And so you can have access to AI tools, but anonymously. So that's pretty useful.
I'm just curious also to hear your thoughts about the Brave browser, which is super famous now among many. Would you think its privacy is sufficient enough, at least like for the average user?
I think it's a significant step forward, right? So because not many browsers were, like Brave kind of like made it a topic, I would say. They succeeded in making it a topic and like a pure privacy-focused browser. So even browsers like Firefox, they're like general purpose, but they never emphasize this as much as it would be good to emphasize. So I think Brave definitely succeeded in making this a topic, which is important for the whole ecosystem, right? So, because I think it's mentioned pretty much on every privacy conference or cryptography conference. Everybody mentions Brave, and it's not just that Brave would be like a silver bullet. It's reasonably good, but I think the biggest success of Brave is that it actually succeeded in making it a topic. That we need something as a pure privacy-focused browser.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them, like, for being able to actually build, like, a business out of it, not just a piece of software, but something sustainable. They have income. They have pretty decent user base, and like, one big part of it, of course, like, how they execute on the browser. It's full of clutter, it's full of ads, and that's now also like turning some people. But on the other hand, like, it's interesting, their communication is successful. My problem fundamentally is that it's built on Chromium. Like, they're still like fully dependent on the dominant technology of the web. So the main problem with browser today is that the browser technology is being monopolized by Google. That like 80% or more, whatever, of the browser traffic comes from Chromium-based browsers. WebKit, and the only reasonable alternative there is Firefox right now. So like, you are basically like building the diversity if you are focusing more on Firefox. And I would push back on that because I believe that like Firefox or Mozilla uses privacy a lot in their communication, but it's true that like they also like had hard time with their corporate speak and whatever, so they have their own issues. But yeah, as much as I want to like Brave, like just building on the poison technology or the monopoly technology, like that's already the no-go for me. Like I need to, like at least, try to get people to support. Same like Linux, by the way. Like we have, 5% of desktops running on Linux now. Like it's the year of Linux. And now, as you push the percentage a bit higher, suddenly, like you have like twice as bigger market reach, like for people to build specifically for this. Because today the web apps are optimized for Chrome or Chromium browsers instead of the Firefox ones. So, and for other operating systems than Linux. So Linux users have pain because of this, or Firefox users. So if we build bigger user base for these alternative systems, we make them more equal for like people to consider when building tech for it. Yeah.
Sounds optimistic. Any thoughts on Brave, Amir?
I think they were trying to do some, the token thing.
Oh yeah, they had a
okay.
basic attention token. They had a bunch of these like fuck-ups. Like
I don't think it works.
there's this thing with Tom Scott and browser.
I think they should have done something more like Telegram does. I think Telegram's really cool, like what they were doing. So that's another good inspo for the anti-browser, the post-browser or whatever you want to call it. Like.
I mean, with these missteps, it's not just Brave having these, fuck-ups. It's just, it's also, if you look at Signal, there's this weird mobile coin thing somewhere hidden, right? So I would say that for me is like similar weirdness as the bat token in Brave, right? So yeah, it's just that you try to go a certain direction, but it doesn't always succeed, or you're not met with success on that path, yeah.
For sure. Well, we have 2 minutes left. If someone wants to ask any questions, by chance, we have one there, two. Can you pass the mic?
Thank you for the presentation. So I've been having this conversation a lot recently, and you guys mentioned it as well. The term privacy is a bit weird, like with your average person, and I understand that we can like frame privacy in a more positive light, but I'm wondering if even the word privacy is the wrong way to frame it. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. And I guess just a quick note, like if we think about how like email encryption, for example, works, it's just what you expect. Like you expect that people can't read your email, so yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, I like the example, like you said, that email encryption works, or like lots of people even don't know how internet works, right? It just works by default level. So I think in the ideal world, like privacy should be on the default like layer as well. Can we reframe it in the different word? Like, I mean, there are lots of different words for it, like data protection, like censorship resistance. I don't know. It's very hard to rephrase, but I think it's still possible to do like some sort of like positive branding around it if industry like players work all together towards it.
Email is not encrypted, right? Like there's PGP, but almost nobody uses it. Like email, I think, is like one of the great example of just like having failed security in the sense that like we've built the base infrastructure without the security or privacy in mind, and now then we try to stick it on top of it. And there are people using some maybe plugins or manually doing PGP or having some Proton Mail or something, but generally like it's not encrypted. And there's the same problem that we keep running away here. You talked about it in the sense of the internet. We talked about it in the sense of web through a browser. That this infrastructure has been built dozens of years ago at this point with no privacy or security in mind as a fundamental. So we now to try to put it on top of it. We add TLS, we add whatever protocols on top to mix stats to make it private then. And that's why we keep running to all these efficiencies and leaks, because like it's just hard to like build on top. And yeah, I don't know if we will be able to like rebuild internet from the bottom up. Like there is this ETH Zurich work, the CIO, or what is it called? CIONet, something like that. Like that's an interesting proposal. So yeah, unless we have a new internet, a new email, we need to start from the bottom, and it's not going to work.
I think it's always the case of when you pioneering a new technology, like the internet was pioneered in the 80s, then you have Web3, then you have AI today. It's never that there is security, right, at the beginning, right? It's always primarily focusing onto delivering the most useful thing, like you say, you send an email, it actually works, right? So, but because security is never like the first goal that you want to have, because that's why security is called like enabler, rather, right? It enables you to meet certain goals, but it's never like a core feature, or it's never considered to be a core feature, especially in the hot pioneered technologies, right? And then it's kind of being added up later on, which is unfortunately the case almost for every technology that you see out there.
Okay. Thank you.
There was another question over there.
I think we are out of time.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry for
you can ask questions later. Catch us after
I'll
the
see you in
talk.
Bordel.
Yeah, in Bordel. Yeah, congratulations. By the way, it's a
Thank
great
you.
initiative. Hope it's gonna work out pretty well.
Yeah, thank you.